Christian parenting.
When you survey parents about their biggest parenting struggle, discipline and discipline issues come in at number one. Join me as we talk about that today on Family Vision.
Hi, my name is Millie Rienow. Welcome to Family Vision with my parents, Dr. Rob and Amy Rienow, strengthening families through practical, encouraging, and real conversations.
Hello, Rob Rienow here with Visionary Family Ministries. Welcome back to Family Vision and part 2 of our conversation on discipline that shapes the heart. In our last episode, if you missed it, please go back and listen because we laid out some biblical principles or some biblical basics for understanding discipline from a Christian perspective. We talked about how Christian discipline is not about fixing bad behavior. Hey, kid, quit it. Hey, kid, stop that. Christian discipline is about discipleship. It's about helping our children become disciples, helping them become followers of Jesus. So I want to continue the conversation we started in our last episode and talk about an essential parenting principle as it relates to discipline, and that is that discipline that disciples or discipline that shapes the heart is consistent. Now, you've probably heard this before, right? This is a concept. You pick up any book on Christian parenting, it's going to say consistency is very important to children, et cetera, et cetera. So our problem on this is not so much like a lack of knowledge as it is a lack of execution. I struggle with consistency in all sorts of parts of my life, my parenting, my faith, my work, you name it. So we all fall short. So we're all going to have to give ourselves as parents some extra grace and some extra understanding and receiving mercy from God. But I want to try to illustrate the importance of consistency by sharing some stories of inconsistency, about how inconsistent parenting can create some real behavior disasters in our kids. And each one of these examples that I'm going to give you are from the Rob Rienow School of Parenting Failure. These are all techniques that I have mastered and employed with disastrous results in my parenting and in my kids. So I know from whence I speak here. Okay, number one, inconsistency trains children to be professional whiners. Inconsistency trains children to be professional whiners. We're out at the grocery store and we're in the checkout line and all of the candy racks are in the checkout line. Like the child is flanked, the 7-year-old, the 11-year-old is flanked by candy at eye level on both sides. And it's, Daddy, can you buy us candy? I say, no, I'm not buying you candy. Come on, Dad, please buy us candy. No, I'm not buying you candy. Dad, you never buy us candy, please. That's not true. I do buy you candy, okay? But I'm not buying you candy, Dad. Come on, please. Why not, Dad? I'm not buying you candy. Dad, come on, just a pack of gum. I say, no packs of gum. We are out of here. So Dad holds firm. We get out of the grocery store. I am victorious. Next day, we are at the gas station, pay for our gas, go in to get some schnibbles and bits, and the kids say, oh, Daddy, candy rack, please buy us candy. I said, I'm not buying you candy. Come on, let's get out of here. Daddy, you never buy us candy. That is not true. I do buy you candy. Well, yesterday you didn't buy us candy, and yesterday you swore that someday you would buy us candy, and today is that day. I say, no, guys, I'm not buying you candy. Let's go. Daddy, please, just a pack of gum. Fine. Pack of gum for you. Okay, you're a baby. I don't care. Pack of gum for you. Let's go. Now, what I've just done is I have used the most powerful psychological tool known to man to train my children to whine. The tool is called random reinforcement. Random reinforcement. I was a psychology major in college, and I had a rat upon which I did experiments, like psychology experiments on the rat. And again, no rats were harmed in the experiment. I mean, he's dead now. I did not kill him. What I mean to say is I'm sure he's dead now. This was many years ago, but I didn't kill him. It was all very humane. His name was Nebuchadnezzar. And one of the experiments that we did upon Nebuchadnezzar was, how do you train a rat to push a bar, like a little lever? How do you train a rat to push a lever? Well, you hook it up to his feeding tube. And you start off with what's called direct reinforcement. Direct reinforcement is one push of the bar, a pellet of food comes down his little feeding tube. Well, Nebuchadnezzar learns if he pushes the bar, he gets a pellet of food. Well, then you set up interval reinforcement. It now requires 10 pushes of the bar before one pellet of food comes down. And now under the interval setting, of course, Nebuchadnezzar pushes the bar more than he did under the direct setting. And then the third scenario is called random reinforcement. Random reinforcement. You set the computer that somewhere between 1 and 20 pushes of the bar, the machine will spit him out a pellet of food. Maybe one push, ding, he gets a pellet of food. Maybe 20 pushes, ding, he gets a pellet of food. Under the random setting, once he has lived under the random setting for a little while, unless Nebuchadnezzar is going potty or taking a nap, he is pushing that bar. Push, 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 push. Because you see, Nebuchadnezzar never knows when the food's going to come. Maybe one push of the bar, he gets his food. Maybe 20 pushes the bar, he gets his food. So he's learned he just has to push, 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 push. Now at this point, this should start sounding eerily familiar to perhaps some of your parenting challenges. So I think about maybe one of my toddler children, okay, a 3-year-old. Sometimes, and he's in the checkout line at the grocery store. Sometimes my daddy buys me candy. Now, when that is, I have no idea. Sometimes I say, Daddy, buy me candy, and ding, candy appears. Sometimes I throw a complete fit and yell and scream, and then ding, candy appears. So I don't really know how this whole thing works. I just know that I just need to keep push, 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 push. So you're like, oh my goodness, that's my family. I've trained my kids to whine. What do we do? Okay, the solution is super simple and super hard. Jesus gives us the solution. Super simple, super hard. Jesus says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Well, that sounds very simple, right? But here's the deal. See, we have to retrain ourselves. Retrain ourselves. You're like, I thought I was retraining the kids. No, all of these today are going to be retrain yourself, okay? When our kids make a request to us, we need to actually first stop and think about the request. I fall off the wagon right there sometimes. Hey, Daddy, can we? No, we can't. Yeah, but I didn't even ask you my question. No, the answer is no. I'm being very disrespectful to the child. I have not even listened to what they said. I just said no rather harshly right away. So first of all, we're going to listen. So, Mom, can I play video games after school today? All right. Stop, Mom. Think about it for just a second. All right. And you think based on the schedule, based on the day, and you're like, no. And you're like, wow, that was easy. That was fantastic. Okay, good, Mom. So far, so good. The problem is, see, you've just done this podcast episode 8 minutes in, and you are now transformed. You are a brand new mom with this whole approach. But here's the problem. The child is still trained under the old system. You see, they don't know they have a brand new mom, okay? So you're going to say no, and what are they going to do? Push, 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 push. So there is this transition period where you say, okay, you know what? I did listen to what you asked. I did think about it. The answer is no. And if you keep asking again, then I have to give you a consequence with no video games tomorrow or whatever. So what we need to do, preaching to myself here, slow down, think about it. Back to the grocery store example. Daddy, can you buy us candy? Think about how much candy's in their pocket from the candy I bought them yesterday, whatever. Yeah, sure, I'll buy you some candy. Wow, one push of the bar. That was awesome. Okay, again, transition period. All right, another one. Inconsistency trains children that they can break any rule more than once. Inconsistency trains children they can break any rule more than once. Let's go, we were talking, go back to a 10-year-old boy. He's playing his XWii 360 box station U, and you go in S, and you go in and you say, hey, Timmy, time to turn off your gizmo and do your homework. He says, okay, yeah, I'll turn it off. And you come back in 5 minutes later, he's still playing the thing. Hey, so help me. Come on, man, turn that thing off, do your homework. Yeah. I'm going to turn it off right now. You come in 5 minutes later, turn that thing off. Why do I always have to tell you to turn it off? Fine, I'll turn it off, whatever. And they turn it off. And this little pattern repeats itself night after night. Well, what you're doing is you're training Timmy that he does not have to obey you until you yell. Training Timmy, he doesn't have to obey you till you yell. Because what was the consequence for his first disobedience? You asked him to turn it off. You came in 5 minutes later, he's still playing. What was the consequence? At first, you might say nothing. Well, he got no consequence. Well, that's not true. The consequence is simply the result of the action. The result of his action was he got 5 more minutes of video games. What was the consequence of his second disobedience? Well, 5 more minutes of video games. Now, the interesting question is, why at the third interaction did Timmy obey? Well, it's because you finally got around to giving him a consequence. You actually gave him a punishment for his disobedience, but the punishment was your anger. The punishment was your harshness. It was a punishment of the heart, and it hurt him. Kids get hurt when we yell at them. Okay? So how do we escape this common pattern? We have to retrain ourselves to look for first-time obedience. I'm so bad at this. I'm used to asking for things 3-4 times that I don't even know. Now, I'm getting more and more escalated with each time I ask, right? And I'm getting ramped up. I need to retrain myself to look for first-time obedience. So, hey, Timmy, time to turn your gizmo off. Okay, Dad, I'll turn it off. I come back in 5 minutes later. Hey, Timmy, I'm sorry that you didn't obey me when I said to turn your gizmo off. Unfortunately, now you can't play your Xbox this weekend when your friends come over. Xbox is in timeout now. No, Dad, come on. We were going to play Madden 5000. I know. I'm sorry. I know you were planning on playing, but when I ask you to turn it off, you've got to turn it off. You notice the difference there? I am not harsh and angry with my son. I'm calm. Now I'm giving him a consequence quickly that he is very unhappy with. He might be angry with me for giving him a consequence he doesn't like. I can't control that. But he's not going to be angry in response to my anger. Let me give you an example with a toddler. Let's say a toddler, your 2-year-old picks up some priceless vase or something like that, and you need them to put it down, or a butcher knife or something. Well, if it's a butcher knife, just go take it away from them. But they pick up something they shouldn't have. And you say, okay, little Susie, put that down. 1, 2, 3, and they put it down. Now listen, I understand the spirit of the whole 1, 2, 3 thing. There's actually like a parenting book, I think, called like 1, 2, 3 Magic or something like that. I've never read that. Because I kind of thought, how do you make that more than a page? Like I think there's a principle there, and I get that. I don't know how you turn it into a whole book, but okay. I get that the spirit behind 1, 2, 3 is you're trying to give the little sinner a chance to make a decision, right? You say to that little toddler, put that down, and you can see them. Like, I know it doesn't work like this, like an angel on one shoulder and a demon on the other, and they're like back, they're like, I don't know what to do, right thing, wrong thing, and then they finally make their choice. But the problem with 1, 2, 3 is, basically you're saying, hey, you can disobey me while I say 1, you can disobey me while I say 2, you can disobey me while I say 3, as long as I don't say E. Because if I say E, you are in trouble, little miss or little mister. And so I just encourage you with those little ones, you give them an instruction, and then if they need a little time to make their decision, just give them a little time. Okay, Susie, put that down. And then wait 3, 4, 5 seconds. You see them struggling. If they choose to be obedient, give them a big hug and a celebration. If they choose to be disobedient, then calmly, quickly give them a consequence. Another big area of inconsistent parenting, which really messes up the hearts of kids, is the empty threat. The empty threat. I've done this from time to time. Maybe you have too. You're setting out for the big car trip, 20 minutes from home. It's World War III in the back seat. If you kids don't settle down, I'm going to turn this car around and cancel this vacation. Now, how much time did that buy me, right? Maybe 60 seconds. Like, he's going to cancel the trip, man. Cut it out. Like, that's my line. Don't cross my line. No, you crossed the line. You're trying to just like put the fear of God in them so that they'll stop doing what they're doing. But the problem is it doesn't last. I mean, maybe you because you're not going to cancel the trip. At least I hope you're not. I'm not going to cancel the trip. I saw an example of this in the grocery store. It made me really sad. I was at the end of a grocery store aisle, and a woman came around the bend, and she had lost her daughter, lost this little girl. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Well, the daughter was not far away She was just in the next aisle over. She had failed to make the turn with mom, so the whole crisis was probably over in 10 seconds. But this mom grabs this little 4-year-old by the shoulder and kind of roughly and looks at her and says, I would have left you here. Stay with mommy. And this girl's crying, obviously. And so I thought about this. Look at this mom. Now, I don't think this mom would abandon her daughter at a grocery store, although maybe this mom would. She seemed a little unhinged. But look what she's doing. She's using this fear of abandonment to try to get her child to be motivated to stick with her at the grocery store. You see the empty threat? I'll give you an example so that was with a toddler. Let me give you with a teenager. A child who grows up in this home, a 17-year-old comes home late, all right? Supposed to be home at midnight, comes home at 12:30 or whatever. And dad is there, okay? So help me, you come home late again, I'm going to take away your driver's license. I'm not going to let you get a job. I'm not paying for your college. And the teenager's there, arms crossed, staring off at the side, rocking back and forth. Dad's got the finger in the kid's face, and he's just waiting for dad to get done. Dad gets done yelling all his stuff, and that teenager says, are you done? Dad says, yeah, I'm done. Kid goes off to bed. Dad goes off to bed, hard-hearted, bitter, angry at each other. See, here's the thing. You know what that teenager knows because he's grown up in that family? He knows that his punishment for being late, the consequences that he's getting for being late is the angry threats. That bitter, angry threat, the empty threat, the stuff dad's never going to do. All those empty threats from dad, that is the punishment. But what's the problem with that? It's a punishment that is embittering the heart of the son against the father. So, solution, something we've got to retrain ourselves with. Obviously, number one, being super careful about those empty threats. When we make those empty threats, making sure we apologize. But again, remembering to be looking for that first-time obedience so that we're not getting escalated when we've got bad behavior, to quickly, calmly give a consequence, and then shift into those discipleship, heart-based conversations so that we're not just talking about what we did, but we're talking about why did we do it, so that we're working in those two parallel tracks, helping our children with their behavior and then helping our children with their heart. Let me wrap it up this way. One of the biggest questions that we get at our parenting conferences is, I've run out of consequences. Do you have any consequences for my 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old? I need creative consequences. See, here's the thing with consequences. There's no consequence that will build virtue in your child. There's no consequence that'll build virtue in your child. Consequences are just like whack-a-mole back at the carnival. You remember at the carnival growing up, whack-a-mole, you got the big puffy mallet and the little moles are coming up and you kind of tap their heads and tap them down. Consequences just tap down bad behavior. They de-incentivize bad behavior. A child says, well, I don't want that consequence, so I guess I'll behave. That's not what we're after. We're not after kids who do right things or don't do bad things because they're afraid of consequences. We want kids to have virtue. We want them to love God. And so here's what families come to me. They say, Rob, we're dealing with behavior A, B, and C. What consequences should we give? You know what my question always is in response to that? How's your family worship time going? How's your family prayer time going? How's your family scripture time going? And usually the answer is not very well. And so I say, well, rather than focus on we need new consequences, how about focus on getting more spiritual food, getting more spiritual input, getting more spiritual strength? Sounds to me like your kid's acting spiritually weak because there's not spiritual food in the house. And so that can be just a helpful starting point. If you do not have that consistent family prayer time, family Bible time. We talk about that a lot here on the podcast. You can scroll back and find episodes on that. And then we spend a lot of time in our visionary parenting book, Amy's and my parenting book, Christian parenting book, as well as our visionary parenting video Bible study. Maybe you don't like to read, or maybe you just want to do these videos with your friends. Our 8-part visionary parenting video Bible study, which you can get on DVD, you can get it on USB, or you can get just digital streaming. That's the best way to get it on our website at visionaryfam.com. It's going to give you lots more practical ways to apply the principles that we've been talking about in these last 2 episodes on discipline that shapes the heart. And I'm eager to have more time with you on our next episode of Family Vision.